agenda's updated and live.
That is excellent that we are live here on Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. And we're going to pick up with transportation alternatives. I guess I didn't find Damian during lunch, but the way I understood it from the committee is that the committee's direction is to go the idea of giving the agency 100% leeway on the projects and without the limitation or the divide between water quality and transportation alternative projects, and to increase the maximum to 1.2 million and to put I guess what was a floor, when it was 300, just make that 600,000 and give them a year to get the money out the door and come back and tell us differently or not next year.
Okay,
So that is all, I guess, in back in 19, BFA 38. And that is the direction, not exactly what the agency recommended, but probably a little bit of a step further. Representative White, you got a comment?
Can you remind me why we have a floor? Is that just something the agency wanted? Because so that's saying that a $300,000 project ask is too small to be considered?
No, that was a maximum, not really a floor, it's like the maximum amount. Yeah.
I'm sorry, because
Because we're putting the max at 1.2, right?
For a
Per
year.
year.
Okay. And then it will go back
It would
to
go back
600
to
instead
three.
of
It
3.
would have gone to 3. Now.
Yes.
I understand. Okay, thank you.
it was originally 300,000 max. It's not a floor.
Okay.
It was 300. It was moved up to 600, but sunsetted to go back in 2027.
So it's gonna go 1.2 for a
Only
year
come back
and then
to
it will go
600.
back to 600.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank
Well,
you.
now the question is, did we make sense to
ceiling.
council? It's not a floor, it's the 1.2 would come back to 600 instead of all the way back to 300.
Let me
Eating away at things.
join your Zoom meeting here and I'll pull up. I think I got all that down into an amendment. If it looks good to you, I can send it.
The only thing the agency wanted to make clear is that they have the ability to do the FY 27 awards. They wanted some language around that, I believe. Right.
Well, this language.
Yeah,
This language, but he said the way statute was written, it wasn't quite clear. Or did I misunderstand that? Right at the end, you wanted something around that FY 27.
let's go.
Because the awards get handed out January to March.
March, yeah.
And the money would, and then when they continue through, we want to make sure that we're not hindering any of that
Yeah.
money
Yeah.
piece. It wouldn't be dropped down until, so I guess it would be at least July of 2027. before it would- before it would-
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to point that out. Maybe we don't need to do anything. Maybe we just.
Yeah, I'm not sure I follow.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to say.
Like get the note from back, but, you know, but
Okay,
I just, I thought he made it.
This weekend.
yeah. As folks like to say in the building, you can always give the other side
Yeah.
something to fix, so.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Somebody told me that, I seen it not work.
Change orders.
cheap.
All right, so let me pull up the transportation alternatives language. So what I did, based on our conversation the other day, is you'll see highlighting in here that relates to anything that was discussed as possibly changing when I was last in the discussion. The committee has had further discussions with the agency since then. But based on what I just heard, so the current statute here, this is, I'm doing it on the fly.
Okay,
So,
So we don't have anything to follow except for.
yeah, let's follow what's on the screen.
okay.
So, the current language here, this paragraph, subsection C, I left, with the $300,000 highlighted. It sounds like that's not changing. This is what it reverts back to as the maximum grant in future years. So after FY 2027, there's session law at the end of this that covers through FY 2027. So we'll get to that, and that's got the 1.2 million.
Right, but we do want to change that.
We do want to change this.
we want the new max to be 600,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there we go. This is why we're going through. Um, all right. So that change, I guess I'll unhighlight. So then the next piece here, this is the current language for how the funds can be used in subdivision or subsection F. So it was last updated in fiscal year 2024. So we're striking fiscal year 2024 and saying fiscal year 2027 and thereafter. And we're striking all the language around limiting 50% to stormwater. And it says grant program funds shall be awarded for any eligible activity and in accordance with the priorities established in subdivision 2 of this subsection. And the eligible activities are set forth in federal law. And so this would include pedestrian and bike, stormwater, safe routes to schools, and other things that are included under the federal permitted activities. The next subsection, there was some talk about giving preference to certain things. The existing law already gives preferential weights to projects involving bicycle or pedestrian facilities as a primary feature. And so the question is whether you want to change this or just leave it the way it is in the current law.
Represent what?
There was some discussion about devoting the funds 100% to bike ped.
Option. This is option.
Yeah.
Not
Am I-
no. Well, I didn't.
Am I making
didn't
that up?
understand that way.
Yeah.
I think it was just removing any
Restriction.
just giving them authority to do whatever they.
Yeah, 'cause
It was 50-50, and then there was discussion about 75-25, and this was just saying it's just open to whatever, break it with a preference for bike ped.
The
I guess I want to make sure I'm very clear that transportation alternatives have a whole list of things that are eligible.
Yep.
In that eligibility, or in that application, they are weighting projects for bike ped today. Above that or before that, there was this split that 50% of them had to be water quality, the other 50% that were weighted, 50% left were weighted towards bike ped. We're gonna say 100%. All the eligibility still sits there, but not 50% has to go to water quality. Water quality is still eligible. And the weighting's still there, but we're not doing an additional change to the weighting of the projects, but they're still weighted above everybody else. We're not changing, it could be a water quality project, it could be whatever the criteria were for all the other options, which is one of the ones, which is, as an example, did come up about safe routes to school. They may want to, one of the spot where they wait and a little shelter or something would have been eligible for something like this.
Yeah.
There are other pieces that went through the whole
Historic preservation.
vegetation management practices, archaeology activities, transportation alternatives. There's a lot of them. My application doesn't have bike ped and yours does. Yours would be jumped ahead of the list on the review process. That doesn't guarantee that you get it or not. And we did not, in today's discussion, we did not have any discussion about limiting it to the bike ped, and we're not looking at changing the
I think
criteria.
it's like 10%. I forget when I was grading them. It's they get weighted real high, like 10%. They were like 10% above everybody else on the process.
To get extra
Because of
scoring
the
points.
preference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Seems good.
And all water quality projects are still eligible.
Yeah.
None of the criteria changed, except the awarding piece. More flexibility in awarding them, with our goal being there's federal money to get out. We want to get into the community as quickly as possible. It's already held up. We're trying to move that forward. That's our intent. We're not writing intent language, but that is our intent. Clear as mud, dude. Okay.
all right. So then I would take out this paragraph here from the draft and just omit it. And then subsection G, I had highlighted this but I don't think it actually needs to change. So the agency is required to develop outreach and marketing efforts. And the highlighted language just provides that they shall include apprising municipalities of the availability of grants for salt and sand sheds. I don't think you need to change that because they're still eligible. And this is just calling that out. I think at the time, that was a relatively new concept for municipalities. And so that language can probably stay unchanged if the committee's okay with it.
Unless,
Also, yeah, I know, I don't get to call people. Sorry. Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
unless somebody in the committee would like to consider representing Representative Burke, who might have wanted to highlight that projects and systems that will provide safe routes for non-drivers, including children, older adults, and individuals with disabilities to access daily needs, is one of the projects, is part of the projects that are eligible. It is in here as B, and this may be a spot that B might want to be highlighted or not. That's if a particular committee member might want to suggest that or not, and then we can talk about whether that's a good idea or not, but that's my representing those that are unrepresented currently. Representative Pound?
Yeah, I just wonder if we really, it sounds like this language was put in because transportation alternatives grant, if you're in a small town, you probably wouldn't even think, oh, hey, this might help our salt shed. But now it's part of the program. People know that. We saw lots of that, applications, even though they had a hard time because there's not really enough money to do a lot of the projects. Maybe we just take that out and the agency outreach, is gonna show these are all the eligible projects. And it has that on there. Not sure it needs to be specific. It had a purpose for it being specific.
You got recognized. You had the floor, you got recognized, you can talk until you're done, and then somebody else gets to go. Representative Tomlinson's up next, and then Representative Lally.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be included in terms of outreach and marketing activities, but I do think it makes a lot of sense to include educational programming as a part of this suite of possible uses of this pool of funding, especially if it's challenging moving it. And that might be a small, a very small portion that could go pretty far. So I just don't really see why that wouldn't be an option in the agency's guidance on this grant opportunity. I don't think it needs to be marketing materials, but I think it should be included in terms of the eligibility internally.
So I think I agree with you, Rep. Tomlinson. I think right now it's not, that's not in there currently. So would be something that we might want to consider. But the agency suggested when they testified this morning that that could be an internal decision that they could make. And there may be interest among committee members of just finding out what they, their plans for that.
What is it included in? Are you saying something is included in the transportation alternative grant?
Yeah, so you might have been out when we had a discussion about this. This was, and jump in if I'm not saying this right. This is planning and education to help communities learn how to take advantage of this community base, this opportunity, basically, and also
This grant program.
but also other bike ped opportunities. So that one of the challenges being that that can be kind of a heavy lift for particularly smaller places, and oftentimes the RPCs will help with that, or local motion will help with that, but to have it's kind of hit or miss how that happens now, and to have something that's a little more focused and procedural might help everybody, the communities, but also the agencies, so they're not having to go to endless select board meetings and explain this and all that.
So are you looking for, I'm sorry.
So okay, if I can just see where all
This is listed as as a committee discussion, so we're okay in that perspective, going back and forth. But we're still within the committee.
Are you or direction? Like
Yeah, you're right.
you want to direct the agency to, to have some type of an outreach program for transportation alternative grant opportunities?
I'm just wondering if that would need to be stated in this language in order to make it happen, because right now it's sort of at their discretion, and if we like really wanted this to happen, I think we might need to be a little more clear about it. But one of the things that kind of got my attention this morning was the statement that, $200,000 could be used to help, X number of communities plan for this infrastructure versus building just a short spit of sidewalk. So, that seemed kind of something to think about, at least.
Representative Pouch and then Representative White.
Yeah, maybe we could ask locomotion to sort of say, because an organization like locomotion would be the one that would help do some of this education and whatnot. And, would it be their desire to adjust some of the language, or do you feel it's good enough? Just, okay, ask that question.
My concern to go in that direction is that we have witnesses, that we've only ever extended that to Lake Council and JFO and the agency. And I think we already went there once, and I'm not ready to go there again. You want to set it up and put them in the witness chair and request a witness, I can do that. I'm not gonna have the guests, the witness, people that show up, think they're gonna walk in and testify in the committee without the proper channels for that. And I don't mean any disrespect about that, but that sets up a dangerous precedent for where we're going. And I'm not trying to make an opinion on the subject matter one way or another. I was trying to speak to that when I suggested Representative Burke wasn't represented in her area. I think I was trying to help cover that. So, I think she wanted something to highlight safe routes for schools. So I was trying to say that. That's what I was trying to do, but I'm not gonna go in that direction. We can have a witness if we need to, or we'll go through our normal procedures to do that. We've only ever done it for what we've done it for.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm only trying to help in this particular case in that direction. I'm definitely not trying to exclude that, but I'm not going to go in that direction. I do not want to take out the SALT language from the perspective, I don't think I do, or that I would support it, because we're already reducing the water quality. I don't want to drive additional attention to the fact that we're now removing it from the piece. I'd like to kind of sort of like, can we move on? We've kind of made our decisions, or I think we have, but we're saying we want to give them the max amount of flexibility. They still have the projects. I think that the representative from the transfer, or the person who's handing out and running the program, was very receptive to feedback on adjusting their education pieces. And so I might listen to those that are out listening, that if we felt comfortable as a committee asking our agency people that, do we think that the director of municipal assistance program can make the sort of advertising and change on the way is that sort of in the direction? I don't know that we need a law or the change in the statute to do that, but I think I thought that person, that testimony was pretty clear that they would be willing to make some changes. I'm not sure if Michelle's listening or not to all of that. If you would be willing to perhaps comment on, I'm not sure if you heard all of that piece.
Yes, for the record. Michelle Blumhauer from my Agency of Transportation. So I did not hear all of that piece because I was not in the room and I haven't listened to the tape. But I did see Joel Perigo at lunchtime, and I think he had, talked about in here the fact that we have an effort underway through people in our staff to stand up a new sort of safe routes to school program using our HSIP Highway Safety Improvement Program monies, and that they are working to sort of get that framework up and working with our partnership of external providers, including Locomotion, figure out what the best way to deploy that would be, whether it's a grant to one or a number of organizations to begin to reinvest in safe routes to school in that manner.
And that, from his perspective, having the TA program be focused on construction projects and deploying things that are needed to physically support Safe Routes to School in terms of how that program interfaces with Safe Routes to School was, I think, what that was what was in his mind and what I hope he expressed to the committee. So that was where we left it. So in terms of carved out set aside for engagement activities and outreach, I think we are looking more to the HSIP program to be able to do those types of efforts and keep the transportation alternatives program focused on construction activities. Hope that helps.
Can you pull the language back up there? Thanks. You know, I was just trying to think of, you know, like a compromise language, you know, the chair said that he wants to leave the. And we probably should is leave that salt shed in there, but, you know, maybe we could sort of incorporate, the outreach and sort of outline what the eligibilities are. You know, the agency shall reach out to the municipalities and make them aware of X, Y, and Z, you know. You know, of historic preservation, you know, is that the one that, what's the program that fits? What was that?
Right?
Yeah.
Actually, right here. Construction and safety.
Yeah, so whatever that one is, we could just say shall, you know, we could highlight a couple, but shall not be, you know, limited to, but shall include, you know, we'll just highlight three of them. And then maybe put in parentheses what, you know, salt sheds, what Molly wants. Just expand it a little bit more to incorporate how big the program is. And, you know, not being eloquent at all. It sounded more, that's in my mind, but sort of just outline of the 13 or whatever that's eligible and just pick like three of them, you know. And here's a couple, but it's not limited to, you know, something like
Are
that.
you thinking that the sentence might read something like the outreach and marketing activities shall include prizing municipalities the eligible uses for grant funds, including salt and sand sheds, safe routes to schools?
Yeah. But it's not limited to or something like that.
Yeah.
Make clear that it's, the list is bigger.
Anytime we say including, it means including but not limited.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so.
Something like that with that.
Since we are not minimizing water quality projects
Yeah,
at the expense of bike and ped, but we are looking to increase flexibility to get federal money out the door into the community as quickly as possible. Not at the expense of another area, but to get it out and be flexible as possible.
Yeah.
So I think the terminology around, I think this is a great way to approach it. And the terminology on the Safe Routes to School might be Safe Routes to School infrastructure projects, you know, something that makes it clear. This is the building of things that are going to help people get to school safely.
Sorry. I feel very confident that the director of the program and other interested parties, that they seem very willing to accommodate that additional publication and whatever materials as they advertise it to make that happen. I'm confident that looking at you that can happen.
Yes, and the other thing we'll do when we look at this language is look carefully at the current program grant rounds and the dates and the language to make sure everything is in alignment so that we are capturing the audience of the next round for this bump up of 1.2 million. If there's any changes there, I'll get back to the committee.
And if it's possible, we want to potentially have that, well, I don't know if it's possible by Friday, if what we're looking at. Representative Hope?
Yeah, so I'm all right with moving forward in how the way we're talking about, but that Safe Routes to School piece really is an educational and outreach piece, which might end up being an infrastructure change going forward. And so that what we're saying is that's not going to be in this program, even though it potentially could legally by the federal rules, and that highway safety program, it would be the place to find it, although it would be good to see that it's actually in there. It's really just, we're gonna put it in there, but I'm not sure that it's actually in there. And you know, I think I'll speak for Molly, but myself and others saying, hey, a small amount, you know, of educational and outreach to communities to show them how to do this stuff can go a long way to, you know, even just getting parents to sort of get, you know, educated and excited about changes they can do in their community to help their kids get the same schools.
I would say that this doesn't completely satisfy what you're looking
Right.
to do.
Yeah.
But it is for this program, that's probably as far as we can go on this particular program, but it doesn't solve the bigger question of what you're trying to accomplish. Would be my take on what you were saying.
Right, I would say,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
it
still more we can
doesn't
do
quite
somewhere
get
else.
that, but I'm not, it doesn't mean that, you know, I'm certainly for this program to move in the direction it's steering.
Michelle and Representative White.
Mr. Chair, what I was gonna suggest is perhaps we could come back with some language that clearly articulates that the agency is in the process of developing a safe routes to school outreach initiative. And that we will read through the HSIP program and that we will come back next session and report out on the progress of implementing that. Does that make sense? Help. I don't know, it's more.
It seems like a lot, but I'm trying to be.
We're doing it and
And,
I want
okay.
you to feel confident that we're doing it and, you know, we're working with our partners. We want that to be seen. So it's not a problem to add language and it's a placeholder. So you remember to get back to it next year.
These incremental steps are how things have changed over the long term. Representative White.
Yeah, going back to the proposed language that Damien was sharing, I wanted to suggest that we amend that one sentence that was highlighted to just list these different, you know, shall include construction, planning and design of on-road and off-road trail facilities, construction, planning and design of infrastructure-related projects and systems, just, you know, that it's from slide 4 of the transportation
That's
alternatives.
what I was saying,
Yeah,
but not all, I mean, you could do, I was just saying highlight a couple. But
Or just be inclusive, just put like colon and then here may include all these, and then it's clear that
Yeah.
all these fall into that category and.
That question. So we're talking about law here. We're talking about writing a law. And what we're talking about here, over here is policy. Is that right? Have I got that right?
The program details, I guess I would say it's almost the level of program.
Yeah.
I don't want to put the application in the program in the law. Yes, but I want
Right.
to be sensitive somewhere in the middle.
Right, so I would just be thoughtful to the fact that the law is the law, and that's what it's going to be, and if the underlying objectives change, then you have to reflect that in the law. It seems difficult. Does that make sense?
yeah, no, I mean, I'm following it. That's why I sort of just wanted to highlight it annual, because this is just outreach, you know, we're not changing anything. We're just, you know, it's more telling what the agency to do when they market what's in the law. To say, hey, make sure the communities know about X, Y, and Z, but I think it maybe takes away from maybe the importance of the ones that we want to highlight if we just did all of it. So I just say, do the subtle, you know, but that's just, you know, I could go either way.
You can speak on it again if you like.
Just remembering that I think we heard that municipalities don't often know what grant programs are available. I think we've talked about maybe having a list of grant programs so municipalities know what's out there. So I think having clear language to market for, you know, here are all the programs that are eligible. It doesn't give any preferential treatment to one versus the other, but it is kind of inclusive of here are all the potential things that could be considered for this grant.
Representative.
So, as a former municipal employee, I didn't look to the green books for this stuff.
I mean, I would call VLCT, I would call somebody from AOT. Can you give me a breakdown? I'd look on the website for it. I certainly wouldn't go into a law book to find a breakdown. Oh, this is like when you finally got to where you want to go, because it is cumbersome to look through the green books. I disagree. I just, it's, you know, 2 of them you want to highlight, okay. Maybe 3, but I don't want to see a list of stuff in the green books, because it's already like crazy. And I think that is a program, you know, that's a program. I don't want a program highlighted in the green books. If you want to know about the program, call the LCT, call the AOT, look on their websites to find out. And I think every community is a member of the LCT, and they have wonderful people there that you can call and actually speak to a human being. So.
No, I agree with that. I was just trying to find a happy medium.
Yeah. So.
So, okay, I think that we are at a spot where the agencies agreed to work with the Ledge Council to highlight and insert the concerns. And we also heard the areas that we want to say, also acknowledging that we didn't maybe necessarily get everything done that we want, that our reps might want on that safe route to school piece, but we're not done entirely. We're done on this part, or we're mostly done on this part. We're gonna revise language together and back.
I'm okay too, because they're still on the floor, my other committee. So,
Well, but we did
Yeah.
readjust, so you're gonna get your
yeah,
piece because we were to readjust the papers that want to tell us about our T-fund spending. So I wish I can't control the floor either,
that's
but
fine.
I did readjust. You're gonna work with the agency and with the feedback on the cap, the change and.
Yeah, I've got that.
And we are not minimizing water quality projects in any way, shape or form.
Don't make changes to that sentence.
Well, I'm saying that I don't want to minimize that anybody else in the building might be concerned that we're somehow backing off of water quality projects. That is not our intent. Our intent here is to make sure the federal money gets out. And if some of that happens to go more weighted toward bike and ped, then great. And the water, we can look at, other people will continue to look at why water quality projects aren't getting done. This program may not be the vehicle to completely fix those, but we are not moving away from the water quality piece.
The only thing you had to take out is that 50%.
Yeah.
Reference.
So that is out.
And we're expecting the agency will help in their program management, highlight as many as the items that are available to be funded in this program. And
Okay.
probably already do that, but we'd like to see an application of some of those areas.
There's a 2-page list in the agency's Show Me the Money guide for municipalities of
Okay, well,
projects that are eligible. So, yeah.
Okay.
We don't need to go there, but I'll put this into the T-bill draft for markup on Friday with the changes.
Keep it as its own, or well, yeah, this.
Or do you want to keep it as a separate
Let's
document?
keep it till it's finalized, and then if we want to move it in, somebody will make a
Okay.
motion to move it in on Friday when we move in anything else that we've gotten to.
All right, sounds good. I will have it edited and ready for Friday. Thank you. See you guys at 2:45, hopefully.
Nicholas, I think we're shifting gears as a committee. We're not, I don't know if your witness is online yet or not.
There will, I think it's expecting to be here soon, so I don't know if he's on there already or not yet.
Or does people need a break for 5 minutes to start it too, or do we want to